Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a new Manu's Podcast. Here is Manuel, your host for the next 10 minutes, hopefully. And what is this? This is a podcast where we just talk about different of any sort of topics, and we just go through them. I'm not interested in me, right? What I'm interested in is in sparkling some sort of ideas, some new ideas in other people's mind, and see what happens next. That's actually see how ideas change, and how does it work. Every time I sort of come up with a new topic to talk about, and I try to go through it. And obviously I will try to apply on the topic my own point of view, which then you're gonna think about it and you're gonna be like, yeah, this is not really good, and or this is this is very superficial. You can think about it this way, but that's what I want to trigger. And what's gonna be today's topic? So this is something that happened recently to me. So for some reasons, I started an online course. Um, it's about iOS programming, but nevertheless, it's an online course, and it's actually very well made. And at the beginning, the teacher tries to really go through for his students, and she says, or she tries to inspire students to continue on her course. Obviously, there are obvious reasons that she tries to do that, because she wants people, to finish the course, review it, and say that it's amazing, which I think it is. And while I was starting, I just do it for myself more than because she was trying to inspire it. And while she was sort of explaining different things on how you can study better, how to keep motivated, she went through how to make a habit. And she was saying, you can make a habit, and if you do an habit of following courses and learning, it's very good for you, so you just keep growing and you can keep improving. And obviously I do agree with it, but I was a little bit critical, at least for me, on how she says how you can create an habit. So here is the topic: how can you create an habit? And I think I will start talking about I think the three main things that she was saying, that if you keep doing them, you will eventually create a habit of any sort. And so here they are, and I'm gonna then go through them and sort of say which I do believe work and which things I do believe they do not really work at all and actually can be counterproductive at times. So the first one was the what she calls the 20 minutes rule. Basically, she says whenever you finish work, for example, and you go back home, just as soon as you get back in your room, I know that you're tired, but resist in just rest. Just as soon as you get into the room, think about, okay, let's do something. And it can be something, the course or exercise. Because she says that if you start resting, it's going to become more and more difficult for you to start doing the improving activity. Or it's gonna, okay, let's take for an example exercise. It's gonna become more difficult for you to exercise, or to do that simple exercise, and or start watching the videos about courses. And about this one, um, she was also saying that you also have to think that it's just gonna be 20 minutes. And this is sort of a lie to yourself, because she says that in reality, when we start doing something, we usually end up doing it for more than 1 hour. But if we believe and we say to ourselves, oh, it's gonna be just for 20 minutes, I'm gonna work on this, as soon as we hit the room, I'm gonna go back to work, we are gonna start to do it, and then you are gonna work on for it for more than 1 hour. So about this rule, I think I have changes, and probably this has to be with my character, but I would change the 20 minutes rule in sort of, instead thinking that you're gonna do an activity for 20 minutes, I would say that you should go back to your room and then have a rest of no more than 20 minutes, and then say to yourself, okay, now I can start doing an activity. So she says that if you do, you should hit you should start the course as soon as you hit the room, because then it's becoming more and more difficult to starting new activity. But for me, it's very important to have a small break before starting something else. That's why I'm saying, okay, just have a rest of some sort as soon as you get back from work. And I do believe that 20 minutes is actually a very healthy amount of environment, or amount of time to sort of rest. You can just lay on the bed, put an alarm of 20 minutes, and then when the minutes rings, it's like, okay, let's do something. And why no more than 20 minutes? It's because afterwards I do agree with her that if you wait for too long, then you're gonna be more eventually be like, no, I'm not gonna do it because I am I'm so tired, I feel, the more you rest, the more you want to rest. So I think 20 minutes, more or less 20 minutes, is a very good amount of time to feel rested, but also still not really off the hook of do some sort of activity. So you're like, okay, let's just do it. So I do agree with the, when you hit the room, you should think about doing something, an exercise, but I would say have a rest first and then do it. And I disagree with the fact that you should think that it's gonna be 20 minutes time, no more than 20 minutes time, because you're just lying to yourself and you know it at some point. That's pointless in my opinion. Just think that, okay, it's something that you want to do. It doesn't matter how long it takes. After a while, you're just gonna look at the clock and be like, oh my god, it's late, I have to eat something, I'm gonna have dinner. But I disagree that you should sort of lie to yourself in that way. So this is the first rule and how I sort of change it. Like, I do agree that it's kind of a nice way to create an habit, because then you choose which type of activity, but I would do it differently than her, or how she was suggesting. Then another rule that she was talking about is which one? This day streak. So she says that you should have a line on your calendar, and every time you do that activity, you just keep drawing or continuing that line. So I very disagree on that because of how counterproductive it can be. So you can start drawing your line, and I totally do agree with the fact that it's very exciting to see that line and keep it go. Oh wow, it's becoming so long, and I think the mentality there is, you want to see how much you have improved, and you did it just by a drop at a time, a step at a time. But I think it works. The problem is, what if for one day something happens and it's out of your control, you cannot do that activity? You break the streak, right? And then what happens? So every person will react differently, but for me it's very counterproductive when I see that hole in the day, in the streak. I'm like, okay, I wasted my streak. It's not the same. I'm starting from zero again, and so you are way less incentivized in doing the activity. So that's why it works so well that it can work so badly if you miss one day. So maybe you're thinking, okay, I can adapt it with 1 week. If I done it at least 5 times a week, I can strike it. I think it's up to you. I still don't do it, and I prefer to just be happy that I've done it on the spot, that I'm doing it on the spot. And I accept the fact that I'm not gonna do it every day. I think acceptance is actually very important here. Accept to fail at times, and that's why I accept very well the fact that I'm not gonna do it every day, but I know that I'm gonna do it eventually because I want to grow. And so I don't draw lines. So I not suggest this one. But adapt it to your character, right? That's why these techniques, she says they work for her, but probably they don't work for me. And then the third one and the last one is another habit. Start with very small steps and have something that make you remember that you have to exercise or do something about it. So I think one of the examples that she was proposing is, so imagine that you want to do squats, and you start with 1 squat, then 2 squats, then 3 squats, and you grow. Which, yeah, I agree. You should adapt your exercise to your physique, to the challenge that you can take, so you can feel always very good about yourself, because you proved yourself, and it was not too easy, but it was not too difficult, so you can manage to most of the time pass it. I can do 10 squats, I can do 20 squats, so I agree with it. But then she also says, here it's very important for me to choose what is your challenge and to sort of make it grow linearly, not linearly actually, but make it grow with what you can take. Because it might be that you reach some sort of physical point where you cannot really continue in growing. So you say 1 squat, 2 squat, 3 squat, 10 squats, and then you just keep growing by 1 squat every day. At some point you just cannot continue. Like after 100 squats you say, okay, I can do 101. You probably reach already your physical limit at that point, so you might not want to continue. You just keep staying in those 100 squats, and then maybe after a month you can be like, okay, now my muscles have grown and I can do 101. So it's not linear. It really depends. It's very important for you to understand what's the kind of challenge that you can take. So this is the first part of her suggestion. But then she was saying also, always have things around you to remember that you have to do the activity. And so for example, exercising the squat, she says always do the squat with some particular type of shirts, blue shirts, green shirts, and so every time you see those shirts you're like, oh, I have to do my 10 squats or 20 squats, and you sort of do, and then you increase the time that for the exercise, you lower the time, whatever. So in this case, I think it's very important for the person. So my critique around it's more like, what is the person actually what sort of things will trigger in the person's head. So obviously she says, if you keep doing the exercise and you do all the things, maybe the day streak thing, the lines, every time you look at those shirts you're gonna be like, I have to exercise now. But my problem with it is that what if actually happens the opposite, that you start missing out, and then when you see the shirts you remember that um, you have to exercise, and then you're like, nah, I don't want to exercise today because I'm a little bit tired. So what happens in there is you actually create an habit of not exercising when you look at the shirts, which is the opposite of what you want. I do agree that it can work, having things to remember. I do it too. I have some things around, but in there, something that is hidden is that there must be an awareness of why they are there. Okay, you cannot just have those shirts there all the time if you then end up never do the exercises. If you don't do the exercise, take the shirts and hide them somewhere, and then find something else to remember that you have to do exercise. And if in the end you never do the exercise, I say that the problem is a little bit more deeper than the exercise itself. The thing is, you probably have to be a little bit deeper on why you're not exercising, or why you're not gonna be able to create the habit. So I think I can draw a line here, which is, I talk about these 3 different ways that this online teacher, she says you can create a habit, and I think they're good suggestions, but they are just suggestions. They're not rules. They shouldn't be or given as rules, and everyone should adapt them to their own needs, to their own characters. And I think after this line I can sort of continue a little bit more on, yes, but so how I can continue and maybe discuss on why then most of the times, 99% of the times, people in the end are not that successful in creating a habit. I think it's because, or a healthy habit of exercising, more or less. I think it's one of the reasons is that we still do not really know how to do that, or teach how. We don't really know how to teach to people now how creating habits. We still haven't discovered that. We are so many, we are so different from each other, and everyone has its own way, and they have to discover their own way of creating their own habits. But I think we can go a little bit more on the source of the problem, which is not just making up rules and be like, that's how you create an habit, just do follow these things. It's more like, what's the feeling? Why do you feel like you want to create a habit? So some people would say that it's purpose driven. Yeah, but purpose, then it's all about what you feel about it, right? We are feeling machines, so if we don't achieve the purpose, we feel bad, so we try to avoid that by going back to follow that purpose. It's all about feelings somehow. So that's why I'm like, yeah, but what do you feel why you do the habit? What do you feel why you are not doing the habit? If you look at those trousers or those shorts, then you think about doing the exercise, and then you're like, I'm fine. If you don't feel bad about not doing the exercise because you're missing out, then the problem is more related to that. It's really about how you feel good in that, on the idea that you might improve and how you are improving. If you don't feel good about it, every time you look at that shirt, you're never gonna feel bad because you don't feel that you're missing out. And in some ways, you're just giving up on you. So so this is one of the sides. Then there is the other side of too much, while you are terrorized on the fact that you are not reaching your purpose, and so you just push yourself so hard, and you do exercises all the time, and that's also very mentally exhausting. So I don't really suggest that, because then what happens, you feel mentally challenged, like you feel bad in you know, these things needs time. You need to find the appropriate challenge. It takes time to understand them sometimes. So you might, if you rush it too much because you're afraid of missing out too much, then you might not be able to find the right challenge for you, and you're always gonna miss out. Maybe you feel like you're not achieving anything, while instead you have achieved a lot. So yeah, that's what I think about it. This is all my discussion about how to create an habit. And I started from someone else's ideas, and I sort of push them and adapt to my situation of what I think about them. And this is what I give to you now. Think about it, give yourself maybe 5 minutes and see what you think about creating your own habits. Why do you think it's different or same? And if you want, comment them in the comment section down below. I think I've said everything that I wanted to talk about, and thanks so much for listening to me. And if you liked, if you liked the video, just press the like button down below, subscribe if you enjoyed, and see you next time. If you want more, you have to subscribe and ring that bell and do all the stuff that YouTube asks users to do. Thanks so much, and see you next time. Bye.